Hi, welcome to today's training. This segment is for Holcombe House Concierge volunteers. Those of you that will be the first face that people see when they come into the house. Thank you for watching and enjoy.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. We're going to go ahead and get started. We want to be cognizant of your time. We know you all are busy. Thank you for joining us this morning. Just kind of wanted to start out with my introduction. I think I've met most, if not all of you. I hope so. My name is COURTNEY Arnold. I'm the operations manager for Holcombe House. And I know there's been a lot of staffing changes lately. A lot of staff have moved over to our McDonald office, which is very different for some of y'all, the veteran volunteers. A lot of new staff has come in, so new faces. The building has a new face. So I just wanted to take some time to introduce myself. I hope I get to meet all of y'all today if I haven't yet already. I am the operations manager for Holcombe House, like I said. And so what that means is I really try to oversee the operations in this program. And so that includes the house managers, housekeeping, and maintenance, and also Cordell, if anyone can. Cordell's his own little star. So, I don't know. I've been tasked with it. We'll see. I'll circle back next year. And so we just wanted to kind of, explain like some of those staffing changes. There have been a lot of questions kind of about who does what and who the new faces are. And so I oversee the house management team in that front office right up there. And so for the daytime, a lot of you know Dora, and afternoons, a lot of you know Amy, and weekend people know Shakoa, or Mora, Aaron, and Maria. So I hope as well that you'll get to meet some other house managers that you might not have worked with before. I know typically if you stick to one shift, you usually just have the one house manager that you see most frequently, but we have some other house managers joining us for all of these trainings, and so I hope you all get to see them too. And really also, we wanted to point out that the house manager is your main point of contact when y'all volunteer. So I'm obviously here to help you. That's not meant to say that I'm not here to help you, but the house manager, the manager on duty, which is the house manager, is really your first point of contact for questions and concerns and any issues with the phone or with families or anything like that. And then I'm always here as a backup as well. I think most of you know where my desk is. And then obviously Sarah and Rosalind are here to support y'all as well. So at that time, I'm going to turn it over to them. They're going to come up. Today, we're just going to do a short activity in this room all together as a group. And then after that, what we're going to do is break up into stations. And so I'm going to take all of the people who sign up to be the house concierge up at the front desk, and then the housewarmers will break up, and we'll have 3 different stations for y'all to travel through the house and learn some new fun stuff. All right, Sarah and Robin will come up now.
Did you sign up for reception?
Good morning, everybody. We are super excited to finally be able to do this and have all of you guys here with the first of 4 trainings for these new roles, as Courtney said, to embrace our new house. So this is a really exciting moment for us. Thank you for taking the time to go through what you've gone through in terms of our construction period and then still stand. So we definitely appreciate that. We like to start every single gathering, whether it's a board meeting or a training like we're in today, with what we call a mission moment. And I like to think of it as a moment where we really get to see our mission in action, where we are really providing that hope and compassion that is so important to us, to these families who are going through some very tough times. So, if you were at our fall bruncheon in October, you got to participate in an activity that we call Count the Happies, where we have a jar and you just write down a really memorable, joyful moment that you had at any of our locations. And we extended that to our families, so they're out in the dining hall where if something particularly happy happens to them, they can jot that down, stick it in the jar, and we take that very seriously. So we've gathered up a few so that you guys can really remember why it is that you're here, who it is you're supporting, what it is they're going through, and what a day in their life looks like. So we won't do too many, but just a couple so that you really get an idea of it. One parent said, my 3-year-old had a successful open heart surgery and is on his way to recovery. So a 3-year-old having heart surgery is a big deal, and it went well, so even bigger deal. I made my son smile for the first time today. After 2 weeks of seeing him in pain, that was the highlight of my day. So it just kind of brings it home in terms of these small little moments that these families are going through any given day, and we're a part of it as staff and as an extension of our team volunteers. So give yourself a pat on the back for the good work that you're doing and the difference that you're making.
All right, so we have, you know, it would not be any time with us if we didn't have something interactive for y'all, because we want you to get to know each other. We are not together in one place very often. So, this is what we're calling our Welcome Home activity. So, as you can see, there are large pieces of paper in your little groups. This group is here on the wall. Margie, right behind you, there's a pad and a Sharpie, and ladies right here on the table. So what we're going to ask you to do is please have one person, you know, whoever draws the short straw, be the writer. So please introduce yourself with your name and then answer this question. And the answers to your question are going to go on the paper. So the question is, what do you hope that a family experiences when they come to Holcombe House? What do they see? What do they feel? What do they hear? You know? What do they smell? Thinking about if you could design a home away from home for them, what sort of feelings, what sort of things, what sort of activities, what do you want them to experience? And by the way, if I didn't say it, my name is Sarah King. Hi. Welcome home. Any questions on the question? We're clear on that? So your name, and then if everyone could share, what do they want a family to experience? This is going to be short, so whoever's writing, just jot those down, and then we'd love to see what you come up with. All right? So please, ready, go.
Who's writing? It's not me.
All right, all right. I see some amazing things on these papers. Thank you all so much for taking time to do it and for being very forthcoming with all of your answers. We have lots of things on these. So I'm just going to read out some of the ones I see. I see home, support, compassion, love, joy, comfort, warmth, hope. What does this one say? Oh,
That's comfort to ask for help.
positive,
Compassionate.
compassionate.
I'm writing now, so it misspelled it.
I told that we are not grading on spelling today. No worries. No worries. This is a place of safety, right? Even for volunteers too. To feel secure. I see in the back, thank you for holding that so I can see it. Cared for, focused, their needs are met. They feel a sense of belonging, of peace.
Oh, they got
They feel relieved, accepted.
Look at them.
Let's
You
see
guys
what
are
else
showing
it
off
says.
that. I don't think so.
Holiday cheer, love it. Thank you. Shout out to Macy's for decorating this tree because they are far above our skill level. It was Macy's. All right. So thank you guys for taking that time to do that. One thing that we've been trying to focus on this year, really, I think near the beginning of the year as staff, we did a training that was focused on active listening. And we loved it, and we loved how much it brings in compassion, which is something I'm hearing in all of your groups, right? And being fully attentive to someone when they're listening. So we did a training for it, and then we loved it so much we wanted to share pieces of it with you guys today, just as a little nugget. Unfortunately, we don't have 4 hours. We would love to do the entire thing. So Rosalind's going to just share a little nugget with you guys on that as one tangible way for these things to be carried out. Right? And then the rest of the things that you'll learn today are all practical ways to carry out these things too. Right? So to care for someone, we take care of their basic needs so they can focus on their child. So every single one of you in here, help us do that. You help curate this environment. Thank you so much. So I'm going to hand it back to Rosalind to go over just a little nugget of active listening for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and the handouts under the chairs.
Yeah. All right, so we are going to discuss active listening as a very powerful tool to show just how much you care for our families. The handouts were under your chair, so you didn't notice that when you came in. I'll give you a few seconds to bend over and grab one. We're trying to make the best use possible of the space. But this, like Sarah said, it's really like active listening 101 because we could make a full day of it. But we're going to be very brief just for the sake of time in today's session. So if you're looking at your handout and looking at the definition, like what does this term even mean? It's really a communication technique and a way of listening that focuses on what the other person is saying and confirms understanding of not only the content of the message, but also the emotions and feelings underlying the message. And I think that's so appropriate for our environment because our families are going through all sorts of things and they're telling us and saying and expressing all sorts of things. And as staff and volunteers, sometimes we have to be intuitive and really listening to what is being said behind the words. What's the intent and the emotion and cause at any given moment. And then the benefits of active listening, it's inherently caring communication. So when you take a minute and you take a beat and you really focus in on what is happening with that person and really try to understand why that may be happening, what they're communicating to you, that shows a level of compassion in and of itself. And it's mutual and it's respectful. You're not necessarily trying to give anyone advice or tell them what's right or wrong per their situation. You're really just being in that moment with them and listening and trying to come to the best possible resolution. So we talked about what it is, like why we need it, the benefits, and let's kind of walk through, the how. This is the process. So in conversation, and credit to Colleen, came up with an awesome little word play for us here. If we start at L, look interested, get interested. You really do have to pay attention in that moment. You could be going through the house, doing whatever is on your task list for that day, but if a mom or a dad or a kiddo stops you, they become the priority in that moment. Give them eye contact, turn your body towards them, really try to figure out what's going on. Involve yourself by responding. So as someone has told you a situation, expressed a need, follow that up with something like, so if I understand you correctly, you are asking that, or you are saying that. Try to repeat it back exactly as you heard it. And it gives them the space to say, well, no, actually, that's not what I was saying or what I meant. Stay on target. You really want to make sure that you and whoever this is that you're talking to, that you're on the same page. Listen again. So just in case maybe you didn't get it right the first time, allow the speaker to add or clarify, redefine what it is they're saying. And keep doing that until you get it right. That's where that repeat comes in. And then test your understanding. You want to let them know that they've been heard, that you've done your best to understand what it is that they've communicated. I can see why you were concerned. It's a level of validation. We may not always 100% have experienced what our families are going through, but we can empathize in those moments with them. Evaluate the message. If someone is upset, these types of statements can be helpful. I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. I wish I could take care of whatever it is. It's not saying you can, it's not saying you have an answer in that moment, but again, you're validating, you're acknowledging, and you're trying to move that conversation forward. And then neutralize your feelings. So repeat the process until you're both on the same page. I mean, this is not for you to have an encounter and take anything personally. Sometimes I say it's the situation that's speaking and not necessarily the person, because they are going through some pretty intense moments. So I know I just kind of rushed through it. Some of you have been with us for quite a while, and you may be thinking back on some exchanges that you've had with a parent or a grandparent, or even maybe even a patient that were a little bit emotionally charged. And for you new volunteers, and yay, you've got new volunteers in the house, just to be mindful of, these are the things that could pop up. Someone could have a particularly rough day. Someone could have received particularly bad news, or maybe they're just new to the house, and when they checked in, they got all the information, and now they're needing you to repeat it. But at all times, we want to be mindful and compassionate and respectful. So this is active listening. You will get chances to practice, believe you me. Yeah. But thank you guys for that.
So we thought that we could show you what not to do, because that's a little easier. And then you guys could fill in the blanks of what to do. So we have a little scenario here where Rosalind's going to be playing the mother of a patient, of a 6-year-old girl, and I'm going to be Sally the volunteer, okay? So let's say I'm a housewarmer and I'm roaming around, okay? This is scene 1 of what not to do, okay? Okay, I'm cleaning or something. Okay.
Oh my gosh, Sally, I just heard the awesome news. Andrew got to go home. I know he has the same diagnosis as my little Michelle. You gotta tell me, what happened? What were the treatments? What did they do? How many appointments was this?
I can't tell you. Confidentiality, HIPAA. Okay, now, scene 2, same thing. All right, I'm cleaning, what not to do. Okay.
oh my gosh, Sally, I just heard the great news. Andrew got to go home. He has the same diagnosis as my little Michelle. This must be great. So if he went home, I bet my daughter's going to be going home soon. Tell me all the details. What do you know?
Oh yeah, so Andrew, the other little boy that stayed here, yeah, I think he had acute, how do you say it, myeloid leukemia, and he was in Texas Children's Room 928. And what happened was, you know, the doctors weren't sure that they could treat him anymore, so they sent him home. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's good news.
So
Wait.
It's not good? Like, so
No, it's not good. It's not good. And you know what else happened? My husband's sister-in-law's cousin, their child had the same thing, and theirs was okay. So, you know, you never know. But, you know, when they were going through that, it was just really hard for our whole family.
With the whole family?
Yeah, it was really hard, and, like, everybody got so tired, and gosh, I don't know how you guys do it. I mean, it's just so hard. And then, you know, she got a turn for the worse.
Wait, the worst? I mean, we went home, so I thought it was
Yeah, no, this is my husband's auntie's cousin. They thought it was good, and then she ended up, she didn't make it. But I'm sure your son will be fine. Okay. So please forgive my exaggeration. I hope that somewhere in between those two, we find the home, right, of active listening, okay? So we have 4 minutes before we need to break up into our respective travel around the house team. So in your groups, what are some better responses for Sally the volunteer? What kinds of things could you have in that conversation? So to be clear, she's asking about, she heard another boy go home that had the same diagnosis as her daughter, okay? So keeping in mind confidentiality, right? And then we can't share what other people are going through. How could you respond? What would you do? So in your groups, if you just, anything comes off the top of your head or in a person next to you is fine, okay? Ready to go.
You start. I let you start this time. I made you wait till the end.
We have to answer that question.
Answer the question. What do we say to the person who asked?
Did anybody hear anything that someone else said that they thought was great, like a great response?
Yes.
What did you hear, Melanie?
Well, Nancy suggested that you just say, that's great news for so-and-so, and if they pressed about their own child, she would say, that's something that maybe you should discuss with your medical team. So it was, kept it kind of positive and
kind of, defer questions about medical things. And I know that some of you in this room are medically trained. And so that even might be hard to not, dive right in. What prescription is it? But yeah, we can't, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else hear something that they thought was a good tip or a good approach?
Or even for someone who has, like in my case, having a medical condition, we can't say like, oh, maybe do this, but if we have someone, a patient with my condition, there's just so many differences,
right?
And you really can't say what I've done,
right?
Everybody, if it's going to affect them.
Thank you for bringing that point up. Yeah, because like even in the scenario where I was like, okay, somebody did have that. Every patient's different. We can't, we can't assume or give advice. So thank you for bringing up that good point. Yeah. All right. So thank you guys for participating and really diving into that. I'm sorry that we don't have more time to go into it, but just a little nugget. So our next portion is where we're going to split up into house concierge, which was the folks that chose to stay mainly, the front desk role. And then the warmers that you noticed, I did start switching out lanyards just so we can easily tell at a quick glance who's given this tour. So you should have blue, but if you didn't get a blue one yet, we have more in case I missed you or if you had your badge. I didn't get a chance to switch it. So if you are house concierge, if you have chosen that, if you could please stand up and join Courtney and follow her. She has some information. You can pick. And that's like your first.
I went on Wednesday afternoons from 3 to 7. It's okay.
These videos will be available for volunteers, or if you guys ever want to go back and watch it to refresh, you're more than welcome. So this is probably the biggest group I've got up here. So I talk fairly loud normally, so but if y'all can't hear, just tell me. This is super casual, so stop me if you have a question. Really, we just want this to be a benefit to all of you. We've changed so much on y'all recently. I say recently. Since I've been here, and I know longer before that, so so I'm hoping that this provides benefit, so y'all just feel better about the job up here. So we're just gonna go, we're really just going down this list, and again, stop me if it doesn't make sense, or if you want me to go into more detail, I'm really glad to do that. Okay, so first, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, right there. You're there. I'm gonna go, Carrie. Thank you. Lynn, did you get one? Yes, we have plenty. Okay. Susan, you need one? Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're gonna start with the phones. The phone system has changed just a bit. Again, y'all will have to remind me what it was before, how different this really is, but I wanted to go over the basics of transferring a call, buzzing someone in, the kind of the really main functions y'all have throughout the day when the phone's ringing, okay? So I'm gonna use this phone as an example here. So first thing is D&D mode. D&D is do not disturb, okay? So each night we put the phones on D&D mode at 9 p.m. and in the morning when the 9 a.m. person gets here, they will still be on D&D mode, okay? So that is a button on the phone. Here, I'll pull this up so y'all can maybe see a bit better. And crouch down, okay. So D&D, it actually says D&D on here on this panel, okay? When you turn it on D&D, you have to press it twice, and then this button turns red. If that button's red, that means no calls are gonna come through, and at the door, you're not gonna be able to buzz people in either. So if you've been here for like 10 minutes and you're like, it's pretty quiet today, no calls are coming in, that's probably why. This is a great example, all of the phones have to be on D&D mode for no calls to come through, okay? So typically, if you're the last one to leave, if you're a night person, 6 to 9, you would want to hit this button on all 3 of these phones up here, okay? And then that will basically shut off the phone system so no calls are going to go through. I got this question last time. If someone were at the door after 9 p.m. or before 9 a.m., what it does is if these are on D&D mode, it rolls over to the house manager. So we could, if there was an emergency or something, we can still buzz people in and we can still get a call. It won't come up here though, okay? So if y'all are sitting here and it's quiet, I'd check that first. Probably check all 3 of them, okay? Because it is common that one of them was left on D&D mode, but the other 2 aren't, okay? So it's just that button.
When it's on D&D mode, then will it roll over to a voicemail?
It will first roll to the house manager's office. We had to do it that way because of the intercom system at the front door. It could, if we didn't have it roll anywhere first, then someone could literally be standing out there for hours and we wouldn't know because you wouldn't even be able to hear that ring. After that, yes, it will go to voicemail if the house manager doesn't pick it up. And it'll be the general voicemail for the welcome desk. It won't be the house manager voicemail, okay? So that's D&D mode, okay? So you wanna just make sure the phone isn't on that mode when you're here if we want calls to come in. To turn it off, you just hit that same button once and then that red light goes away, okay? Doorbell, so I kind of touched on this a little bit. Gates and basement. When someone's at the doorbell, you guys, it's that rapid ring, right? So all you have to do is pick up the phone. We do want you to ask who it is. I know it feels kind of awkward because you're like staring at them half the time. They're standing right there through the glass. Like, hi, who is it? And you can see it's FedEx or whatever, but we do want to ask who it is. We don't want to just blindly buzz people in and not know what they're here for, their intentions, right? So when you're on that call with someone to buzz them in, it's 9. It's the same as it was before. That is also if you're at the gates outside, okay? So there is a call button on both the gate that leads to the basement and the gate that leads to that surface lot under the new building. They have a call button to get in and also to get out. Because if you don't have a key card, you're going to be stuck. If you got in, you're going to be stuck in there until you buzz it back to be let out. Okay, so that's 9 for all of those. We also have a call button down on the elevators in the basement. because you need a key card to take that elevator. Okay, so that's 9 as well.
Courtney, can
Yes.
I say about that really quick?
Yes.
Just from experience,
Yeah.
I will say you just press the 9 once.
Oh,
And that
just-
unlocks both, because I didn't know this.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I'm the house manager every other Saturdays. I was pressing and holding, and they're like trying to open the
Oh.
door until like I hear it, and then all of a sudden it opens, but then I like have to press again for the next door.
Yeah.
And then I saw someone do it where they just press it once and it opens both.
Yes.
So
Yes,
that's all you
thank
gotta
you.
do is just press the 9 once and
Yeah,
unlock.
yeah, you don't have to hold it, you don't have to press it multiple times. Even right here, right, we have those 2 doors, the 9 unlocks both doors. It is timed. It's not a really short amount of time, it is timed though. So if they get in the first one and like drop something and kind of dilly-dally, they are gonna be stuck in between the 2 doors, and pressing 9 is not gonna let them in this inside door. Someone's gonna have to get up and go let them in. So I'm sorry about that. But if they're lagging in between, they're gonna get caught in there because it is timed, okay? That's a safety thing. I think that's it for the doorbells. I put on here,
If someone wants to negate,
yes.
you just
No, yes, so same deal. Thanks, Robert. You definitely want to, especially for that, ask who it is, right? The front door, they would be greeted by someone. The gate, they would get in, and who knows where they would go, because no one works back there, right? So we do have that on video, but yeah, you would definitely, if they're at a gate, or if they got in the basement somehow, and you're not sure who it is, and you can't see it on the video, which we are fixing the video feed for that. You absolutely want to be real certain it's someone who should be here. We've had that actually happen like late at night. Someone's in the basement and we're trying to figure out who they are. So yeah, absolutely be pretty diligent if they're at a gate before you let them in. And I know it's muffled sometimes. I know I've talked to our phone people quite a few times about that. We've tried to like tighten that up a little bit so it's easier to hear people or understand people. They've kind of done what they can do about that. If there is anything we can do to make it better, I'll keep fighting for that. I know sometimes it's real hard to hear what they're trying to say, especially if it's like a lengthy story. But yeah, if you could try to figure out who they are before getting them in here, that'd be great, yeah. Reading prompt, I'm on C under phones. Okay, so I guess I'll get up now. Greeting prompt. I only put this on here in the hopes that maybe share this with you. It's up to you whether you want to use it or not. We had thought about possibly using a greeting prompt, you know, when we answer the phone, something to the effect of, thank you for calling Ronald McDonald's House, Houston, because we do get calls for people looking for Galveston or another location. So we would like someone to say Houston instead of just Ronald McDonald. Thank you for calling Ronald McDonald's House, Houston. How may I transfer your call? The reason I'm just offering this up, take it or leave it. It is not required. I know from experience when I've answered the phone or I'm sitting up here because we're short-staffed, someone starts telling like a 10-minute story and you know you can't help them and they just like, it's like an emotional story or, you know, something. I've stayed at a house before and this and that. And at the end of it, all you can say is, okay, let me transfer your call. You know, and they're gonna have to retell that story. We thought maybe if you're saying, how can I transfer your call, they kind of immediately know, okay, I'm calling like a front desk, I'm calling a call center, I'm calling a, you know, someone who's gonna have to transfer me no matter what. And that's not always the case. You guys can answer a lot of the questions you get on that phone. So you don't, again, have to say that. But we got, in the feedback we got from those volunteer surveys, it was frustrating, it sounded like, for people that they get stuck on calls they don't feel like they can handle, or they're, you know, the phone's, you're the only one up here, the phone's ringing like 3-4 times while you're on that same call listening to that story, and, you know, you're just kind of bogged down or chaotic because you want to move on and get the next call. Okay, so that's the only reason I offer that. By no means is it mandatory. I just offer that for food for thought because we did get some feedback about people answering the phone and just kind of frustrated that it was, they're up here alone and it was lengthy, and people getting frustrated with them that they couldn't provide the answer they were looking for, okay? Transferring a call. I guess I'll go back. I hope someone was very crafty, I like it, and put tape or like a little poster right here that says transfer. So the transfer button is this middle black button right here. So it's above where that says transfer. It's next to the hold button. To transfer a call, when you're on the phone with someone, so you're talking, you would hit this black button and then the extension that you're trying to transfer the call to, okay? We also put this sideboard here with staff names on it and their extension to make it a little easier. I don't know if that's actually easier for y'all or not.
Confusing, Courtney.
It's confusing?
You sit there and you go down like this.
Yeah, to try to find someone.
The numbers
Okay.
are very, very small.
Yes.
And it would have been easier to have just a person's name,
Okay.
like a first
Sure.
name.
Sure.
Courtney,
Okay.
you know,
Sure.
in larger letters. But
Right.
you sit there and you go
Okay.
back and forth looking
Yeah,
for.
I had heard that too. So the phone company made these for us, so it wasn't our, it's definitely not what I probably would have chosen myself. We can certainly edit those if I could get them to send me the template, which shouldn't be an issue. What we wanted to do, and I'll explain a little bit, the yellow names on here are people who work in this building, who office here. All of the other names are people who are at McGovern. We did, hope that it was going to be helpful to at least highlight the names that are on site here that you probably get more calls for. But again, I totally understand. What they did, which we didn't realize, is there's 2 names on every line, so it's really small. We did not ask for them, and we really don't need that. There's a lot of empty space on here, so I do think we could rework that. Thank you for bringing that up. I know that just transferring the call, sometimes, yeah, you're like, look, you're flipping through a directory, you know what I mean?
Find a number to transfer,
Yeah.
the person's on hold.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we can rework that for sure. So the transfer option, you do have to hit this button, and then you can type in their extension 151 or whatever, or you can hit transfer and then hit this button next to their name. Okay, so either one's going to work the same.
And then do you, after you hit the number, you
Hang up. Yep, you hang up and it transfers it to them, whether they pick up or not. Okay, so it'll transfer that to them and it'll go to their voicemail if they're not there. Lynn brought up a good point this morning too. I know even when I first started, I was doing this and then it just got kind of crazy. Y'all used to get, I can't even remember what it was called, like a daily report or update, is that what it, yeah. I'm glad to go back to that. I thought it was helpful and we got away from it, just the construction, it was like hourly changes at a certain point that like the piece of paper I left up here wasn't even valid by like noon. So I'm so happy to go back to that if y'all find that helpful. And then just providing like the staff that is out that day or something that has changed, or we have a group coming in for a tour, or there's this meal group. I'm glad to do that. That is no problem. And I hope that that will be helpful in letting y'all know, especially like Lynn said, if staff is out and they really want an answer or something and they keep calling you back, well, Colleen didn't pick up, I keep getting, and then if you knew she was out, you could have just said off the bat, she's out, she's not going to pick up, but I'll transfer you to her voicemail. So we can do that too. I hope that will be helpful. Putting a caller on hold is just this red button right here that I thought for not a long time, but I thought that would just hang up a phone call. It is. It's the only red button on here is just to put someone on hold, okay? To pick up the call after you put them on hold, you have to find the call on this like panel right here, okay? So it would be a green button that's lit up. While the call's on hold, you have to hit that green button to get them back on the line with you. So you can't just press the red button again. You only use that to put them on hold. To get them back, you have to find it over here. Like this one's blinking green right now. It would be green where you left off with them, okay? Staff directory is, maybe it's, we have a staff directory. It's, no, I don't know, did anyone see it? Did any of you get to see it before it went missing? Sarah, it wasn't. It was actually a binder just like this, and Sarah made it for us, and it has color photos of all of the staff members, also where they work, and the events for the job that they have, right? So like for Gordon, it would say golf tournament, it would say Trey Figueroa run, stewardship coordinator, his extension, his photo, and then that he's at McGovern. It was up here for the longest time, and I will try to find it. It wasn't here. Huh?
I know that there's, that's not it.
It went missing. Okay. Well, I'll try to find that for y'all too. That was like an added layer of just trying to help people identify what office are they working out of, what do they do. I know some people will call me like, looking for Diana. Diana works in advancement for us, but if you didn't know that, you're like, okay, who's Diana? Which office does she work at? What's her extension? So we have a staff directory. Sarah spent a lot of time making it. It is very organized and really, really lovely. If I can find it, I will put it back up here for y'all. So you can use that as well. Again, we will try to rework this. I know this is going to be the more efficient option. Okay, that brings us confidentiality. I only put this on here because I think sounds like we used to be real good about covering up lists up here in like a manila folder or something, like a family census of who's in the house or anything with birth dates or names or, you know, rent due or anything like that. And I just want to point that out. We really do want to keep that stuff confidential. So anytime we have a list up here with family names, any identifying information really, we really want to keep it in a folder, especially if you walk away or anything. This is just a very open area. Kiddos come back here all the time. Moby really loves paper right now, so that might be helpful if it's covered. But really with people just walking in and out and vendors here in different groups all the time, we just want to make sure we're cognizant of that, okay? That brings us, if no other questions on those few items, that brings us to Breezen, which is the visitor management system. Okay, so this is the home screen. What I'm gonna do is take it a step further, or back, not further. This is the home screen of the iPad. So I only show you this to show you how to get into the app. It is this big B right here on the bottom. It's blue with a big white B. If you slide over, if anyone's an Apple person, you like slide to the next screen. I don't really use Apple that much, but it is pretty intuitive and easy to use. So it's always gonna be down here, and then if you were on this screen for some reason, you slide over, it's on that one as well. So all you do to open it is really just click on it. Every time you open the app, it's gonna refresh the kiosk. What that means is it's like basically reestablishing the Wi-Fi connection. What I would suggest during your shift is if you guys could close the app at least once and reopen it. That seems to be helping a lot with the Wi-Fi issues where you check someone in and a badge doesn't print out. So I don't know if any of you have done that, where you get through the whole check-in process and then no badge comes out and you're like, well, that was kind of a waste. It seems to be that when that's happening, the badge printer isn't talking to the app itself because they're not on the same Wi-Fi. So that, I'm told by our IT people that closing it out and reopening it is gonna help. So let's hope it does. But when you're in this app, you just hit start. I'm gonna use this example as like a meal volunteer. So any group, like a volunteer group that's here, a meal group, you would use group volunteer for, okay? So we did want to, I guess, capture some different visitor types. If you're confused about which type to use, I'd say ask or choose the closest thing to it. But we do really kind of want to stick to those types if we can, because we ask for different stuff based on the type of visitor, okay? So, and if you wait too long, it goes back to the home screen. So start, group volunteer. I don't have an ID on me. Does anyone have an ID? No? Okay, so.
Who's got the graph?
I know. What you would want to do is scan.
She has a purse.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she's gonna get it.
Do you mind, Amanda? Or anyone? Yay! Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Of course, just things like.
That's what I was not.
Okay. Okay. So, really the one we want to use is scan ID. Registration form is if someone doesn't have an ID, but that also means they can enter anything they want. They could type in Joe Blow, and that's not their name. So we really want to be scanning the ID. That's also how you do the sex offender check. So begin scanning. What we're looking for is this small barcode down here, okay? Not that big one. Small barcode is what we want to scan, and we want it in this box right here, okay? So, I know. So then her name pops in. So it pops the name in for you, but then you still have to do company name and email, okay? So I can make that, thank you, Amanda. Make that stuff up just to do my email.
Why does it ask for their email?
So for the meal group, that's actually the only one it's asking for email, and the reason is Colleen, our family services manager, typically sends a thank you to the group after they do a meal, and then if they want to get involved, oh, it's gonna take a photo, yay! She likes to send a thank you. If they want to stay involved, that's a way too. So it takes a photo of the person, which is front facing, and the visitor can generally do this stuff on their own. I think it's great if y'all want to be on this side, kind of walking them through it, but it is, I hope, fairly intuitive. That's kind of why we went with this system, because you kind of just do next, 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 and it kind of does it for you. This is a confidentiality disclosure, basically saying we did run a background check and that you agreed to it. They sign right there, accept, Amanda with Sarah's picture and my email.
Woman for all.
You're gonna get so much spam email, Amanda, with my, and then a badge prints out right here. Okay, so when it's all working well, that's how it's supposed to happen. This is sticky on the back, and then they just put it on their shirt or wherever, and they wear it until they leave. A lot of visitors are taking these off and giving them back to y'all before they leave the house. You can check someone out if you wanted, or they can check themselves out. It is not required. I do want y'all to know there's a time in place that it checks everyone out of the house, and it's 9 p.m. So, after 9 p.m., if any of you are here, if you want to check someone out or they wanted to do it themselves, you would use this QR code down here. I'll show it to all of y'all. Okay, this little code down here, right there. You would do checkout. For some reason, this one's on the front. It's right, it's supposed to be.
Yeah, yesterday this one wasn't working.
Is it the camera that's?
Yeah, because sometimes the iPad.
Sometimes the little hold.
The holder is actually too big for the iPad.
I know. Okay, well, so it's supposed to check them out. You would basically put this QR code in that box. It's like catching a reflection or something. Anyway, making the point that you don't have to check people out. It'll check them out for them. The system is programmed to do that. If people feel better about it, by all means, they can do that.
And just a question, what if the sticker doesn't print out? Is there a reprint option?
There's not, and so unfortunately they'd have to go through the check-in process again.
Okay.
That's why I said, you know, if y'all think about it or could get in the habit of restarting the app once, like per shift, it's not gonna hurt because it's reestablishing that Wi-Fi connection. We do have so many people on the guest Wi-Fi in this house. Sometimes it's just funky. So I'd say if you could remember to try to restart the app just once, and to do that, you know, you press this home screen down here. Again, if you're Apple folks, or a lot of things now, this home button down here kind of brings you back to the dashboard. If you double click this, it'll open the apps that you have in place right now, and you can just slide it up and it'll close it. And so now if you go back in, it's gonna reestablish that Wi-Fi connection. That's what the authenticating the kiosk means, okay? Any questions on that?
Yeah. So it only scans driver's license?
It does passports as well. Anything with a barcode like that, but generally a passport or an ID of some kind will work. Yep, any kind of passport. So we had a family here, I think from Puerto Rico and then Honduras, and then we had a family with unique IDs from Mexico. It took all of them. Yeah, so as long as there's some kind of barcode which is linked to their name and birth date, which is generally the requirement for a government issued ID, it should pull it in there. If not, you have the backup of choosing registration form instead of scan ID, and we can still do that. We know that it's an option because we know sometimes it's gonna have to be used. Okay? Good question.
Yeah. What type of alert are we looking for as far as criminal activity?
Great question, thank you. So if someone weren't to pass the check that is being run on them at the time they're here, it is gonna tell them to see the front desk to complete your check-in. We don't want to alarm or raise red flags to someone like that where it'll be like, you're banned or anything. All it's gonna say is it'll pop up a message that says, please visit the front desk to complete your check-in. If it happens and someone says, hey, it told me to see you to check in, you'd want to come get me or the house manager. Yeah, and then we can handle it. We do have these disclosure letters and consent forms, being sent to an email address, and then we get more information. If someone weren't to pass, I'd probably go look at that and try to figure out. Sometimes I will tell you, it is just a matter of a really common name. And when I go into my email, I can verify that it's really not a predator or anything, that they're okay, it's just a really common name. Yeah, that's a great question, thank you. Anything else on this topic?
They don't have IDs.
Then you would do registration form on there. Yeah, so
we would let them in.
You would, yeah, you would. I would just definitely ask, do you have anything with your name? And then again, you would do whichever type of volunteer, and this registration form is the same stuff, but you type it in yourself. So it's not gonna scan an ID. It will try to run a check on their name they enter, but again, if it's a really common name, it might come back with stuff. If it's not a complete name or can't find the person, it will let them in. It's not gonna be a big red alert or flag or anything. We just prefer the ID because it actually is able to run that check based on their government issued ID. Cool. Those are great questions, thank you. Each time I do this, I'm learning more.
16 or 17 years old.
Like a visitor coming for,
Like if they're a meal group.
and they don't have an ID.
Right.
So,
well, I thought we only ran them on over 18. Is that
yeah, we typically just do over 18. So if they had an ID, a license, I would still say scan it if they're able to provide an ID. If not, just registration form and type their stuff in. Because we'd still want them to have a badge. Yeah, so you could just always do that registration form and type in what they have. Yep. Awesome questions. All right, okay, so we're sticking to that. We also only allow visitors from 9 to 9. Okay, unless there were some really extenuating circumstances where someone needed to come outside of those hours, we'd probably have to get approval for that, but it is just 9 to 9, so no kiddos, and then no guests upstairs.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So, if someone comes in with kids, are we supposed to tell them who's going to get upset?
So, if it's a family visitor, yes, they cannot bring kids. Yeah, they can't. Yeah, sorry, if they're under 16. Sorry, Susan. Yeah, unfortunately, we can't let them in.
Courtney, what about the inconsistency of managers on that topic?
So with this retraining, everybody's gonna be on the same page with that. Yeah, so that's the goal. That's the goal. Really, inconsistency in general, we're obviously trying to minimize because, you know, construction is over, we are in our space, we're living this out, we're not quite up to 70 bedrooms, but we're really close. And all of these rules really shouldn't be a whole lot of gray area. There really shouldn't be much gray area at all. Like I say, if there's an extenuating circumstance for some reason, you know, a nurse needed to come like really late at night and needed to go upstairs for some reason, like, yeah, we could get approval for that. But by and large, no kids, no guests upstairs that aren't part of the family or not a guest here, and only 9 to 9. That's a good question, thank you.
Another question which may be related to yours. I did have a family call whose child was going to be discharged to the house, and they were going to be sending a home health nurse to do blood draws and stuff. So I told them that I know the rule, obviously no guests upstairs. Right. Where would they go? Like,
that's a good question. Actually, Chicago just had that too. So if we can help it, even if it is a nurse, we really try to keep that on the first floor. So we have a nurse that comes to do breathing treatments right now with a kiddo, and they're fine to do it on the first floor. What we've been doing is having them use the classroom, the schoolroom. It does lock the classroom, and it's locked all the time because there's technology in there, right? So it's usually vacant. We really don't have many kiddos in school right now, and our teachers here Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning. That would be my first choice. It is really kind of confined. It's like the sports room, kids would be coming in and out. There's big windows right there. The schoolroom to me is really the best place for the first floor to be doing that stuff. If, like again, I guess I would throw out this example. If the nurse needs to do a treatment and the child for some reason needed to be like unclothed, like not their clothes on for it or something, then yes, we will have you go upstairs. You know, that seems much outside the realm of what we can actually ask people to do, right?
OTPT, RT, and nurses are not allowed in the rooms any longer?
We're not, yeah, if they haven't been background checked, we do not have them go upstairs. Okay, so we did TV rooms was like the go-between, like that was the in-between.
That's where they come.
Okay, so I'll have to check on that. As far as I got this approved, it was no guests upstairs, no one that's not,
All the years.
Really? Okay, so I'll have to check on that, but as it stands now, we're saying no.
By background check, this background check?
No, the actual, the full-on background check that we run on anyone who's gonna come stay. Yep, yeah, that's really what we're trying to do. Oh, she's at TCH. Yeah, so the hospital list right here. This is great too, hospital main numbers, I would do. Yeah, oh here, in hospital, that one. Yep. That's a good point too. I'll go over that.
You're going to create this lit thing, that little summary that we used to get every day.
It's going to transfer to different stoves, but
yes. Oh, I definitely will. Yes. Yeah, I would say as it stands now, it's a no. None of that upstairs. If that changes, I'll let you know, but I'll be glad to put that on there too, just so you have a 100%. Yeah.
So then you can ask for
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that one that you were, yeah.
The pick line.
Yes.
So we can call the lady.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I'll have to get, I guess I'll have to go back around on that. I was told it was a no. Unless it was a very, very urgent, or like I said, like if the child, yeah, very personal, or the child isn't well enough to come out of the room, they're in seclusion or something, then yes, we would absolutely allow for that. But if it really is just like, it's gonna be these ongoing treatments, and they could be done downstairs, like physical therapy or occupational.
Do the parents let you know if the child is going to do that type of thing, so that we would know whether you're...
Yeah, they could, we don't know unless they tell us, right? So we don't know sometimes too.
Ma'am.
Wouldn't it be easier for all us to operate?
Let me give you the
on
direct
our own?
line, actually.
Yes, upstairs. But
Yes.
If somebody
No
says,
problem. It's
well,
832.
blah, 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 you say, great, when they get the manager.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Rep. Yeah, I would say across the board, yeah, let's really try to stick to no guests upstairs unless like that person's really kind of pushing you on that or gives you a reason to say, okay, let me go ask the manager. I'm not sure on that. Always. Even if it makes you just feel better to ask, please do. I mean, that's what we're here for. So, yeah, please do.
Me too. The person back there watches the elevators.
No problem.
Yes, we have that on camera. They actually just added a camera. It's not connected yet, but we are adding that camera on there so we can have a better view of those elevators right there and who's going up and down. Yep. Yeah, and once we have it connected, it'll be on yours as well. Yep. So y'all can watch too.
Okay, well, we're talking about letting people in and out. This front door isn't locking.
I just heard. And so they were here yesterday putting on a new panic bar, and so it has to be something with
It
that.
doesn't even look like it's all the way closed.
Oh, great.
So
Speaking of stuck in the middle.
And so then they can't get.
Yeah.
It's not closing all the way. It doesn't look like it closed all the way, so it didn't latch.
Yeah, it's just not latching. Yeah, I'll have to look at it. I don't know why that's.
Or one of the phones on D&D.
No, well, it's
that bar, yeah, it's not coming all the way out to lock it. Yeah, I'll look at that.
They were just here yesterday.
Okay, moving on, just to kind of stay on track with time, I'm glad to stay after for questions too. I just don't want to hold y'all up. Mail and packages. I know this was a fun one for a long time. We are no longer delivering packages to rooms. Okay, I hope that's a fun surprise for y'all and not a bad thing.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was really, I didn't love it so much. So, and I don't think many other people liked going into rooms to drop a package either. So we are not doing that anymore, okay? What we're doing, which this is an extra big one, I guess. These last two cabinets right here are where we're gonna store packages to hold for families so they do not have to be brought upstairs by a volunteer. And we know most of them are not gonna fit in their mailbox, right? So there's a label on here. This is 3rd floor packages and this is 2nd floor packages. Right now, like this time of year, it's been really busy with packages in there. These, there's a shelf, just one shelf in there that's just across the middle. It can move if you haven't, thanks Barbara, if you have an extra big package, this thing will move. We can even take it out. If you find that the packages you're putting in there are generally too big, we can end up just removing that shelf permanently if y'all want to. It's just long, yeah, that's true. You could probably stand it up, I guess, but anyway, we can move that shelf if we want to. So whatever is your preference works for us. I can even just keep it in the back. But that is where we're gonna keep those. You do need a key to get into these cabinets, which the house manager has. My inclination right now is we will probably make y'all, I know some of you have key cards and there's extras in there, which I know you guys know, but I think what we'll end up doing is putting these keys on a chain with a key card or on several of them so y'all can go in and grab those and just have these keys up here because merchandise is down in these last two and you need a key for those as well. Okay, so.
And then that's one for, is that still one for our purses?
Yes, you can absolutely. It's the same key for all of them.
Yeah, but
and your
the
purses.
last time it was locked and nobody was around, so I don't want to keep my purses.
No, absolutely. You can use this one of these, any of them you can use really, but this middle one's empty. Yes. Yeah, so I would say when you first get here for your shift, it might be smart to just go grab a key from the manager. I see him. Hey, come on in. Yeah, he's great.
So let's finish with the packages.
Okay.
So how, we're going to still fill out the form?
Yes, thank you.
In their mailbox?
Yep. So down here, yeah, mail and package lock packages. Yeah, we have folders down here. So while we're holding a package for someone, what I would say is buzz their room to see if they're in there, and if they'll come down and get it right away, that's great. The sooner we can kind of take out the liability of us holding onto it, the better. So if we can buzz them, even if it's like the beginning of your shift, I would try to buzz them a few times, honestly, if you have the time to do it. And then we want them to sign off on the log. Oh, hello. Here, package acceptance log. Thank God it's Friday. It's right here, and we want them to sign off saying they received it. Again, that's just kind of, you know, covering our behind that we've handed it off, they've signed saying they've received it and we didn't lose it or didn't give it to the wrong family or anything like that, okay?
And if we give them one of those forms and say like, oh, we have a package for you, and we give it to them in their room, so they need to bring that back to sign also?
So that's what we won't even be doing anymore, is those little squares we were taping to their door, like we entered your room and put a package in there, we just won't even do that anymore.
Would you put it in their mailbox?
Oh, the half sheet? You can absolutely put it in their mailbox. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, so we, yes, still do these for sure. If you can't get them on the phone, yes. I guess, do we feel like we need to keep, yeah, we just always kept them? Yeah, why not? Why change it? Sure, let's keep them. And I think more...
I leave the time to keep them because the stack gets kind of...
Yeah, I'll probably, yeah, I think
it's like the
for
same
now,
as
let's
like
change.
signing this, you know, because like,
Yes.
essentially it's the same thing.
One of the things that happens is that, you know, if you put a package slip in a person's mailbox and you call a room, some people have their phones on Do Not
Disturb. You're right.
And other families, it's like if you go to the mailboxes right now, some families don't know that they get mail.
Sure.
And there are mailings since
like candy and goodies and
that are in the mailboxes.
Yep.
It would be really nice if on the bus, just a nice small thing that said, families, please check your mailbox.
Oh, sure.
Daily.
Yeah.
Well, we can tell that when we check in.
Yeah, they can tell when they check in.
Well, they get that in their folder, but a family actually said to me, as they were raising MD Anderson, I only read the things that I thought was important.
Yeah, so then they didn't, yeah. Well, you know what, actually, we could even put a note right here.
We had it there.
Okay.
Maria put it one up there.
Okay, and it's gone. Okay, we can think through that more, but I agree. And in that same note, if y'all are putting mail out and you see stuff in there from Halloween and it's December 20th, please feel free to grab that out and like either toss it or put a little candy bin up here if it looks good or what. But if you guys don't mind checking that once in a while and pulling out the really, like clearly this family hasn't checked and there's like 5 things in here of Reese's or whatever, yeah, please grab those and dispose of them or whatever you think is best. If they've already left and they get a package. So thank you, that's return to sender. I would say still, we want to keep that somewhere hidden. I got this question the other day. I know like we were just putting them on the corner of the desk for a while, and I know the functionality lends itself to that so you can remember when the guy comes in to give back those packages. It just feels a little bit very unsecure to have it sitting there because it's still someone's package even though they're gone. I'm not sure, I mean, and I would love your input on what you think would be best for that, because putting them back here, I can totally see how UPS comes, you forget they're in there, and then they just sit.
What if you had a piece of paper typed up that said to the UPS or FedEx, check for a return package, and set the note up here, but put the package somewhere else, so that there's a note saying that there's something to be returned, but you're not leaving the package out.
I mean, I like that idea if they would check it.
No, put it out when you have a package. I wouldn't leave it out.
Right.
I mean, you just put it out when there is a package to be returned.
Come this way.
When UPS comes to pick up, and if there's a package here, like we have there's one guy who's in there. He's really nice. And he'll say, oh, I need you to take this back. He'll say, oh, I only have to return return label. And then I'll say, oh, well, this is a family that already left. And he's nice. He'll say, okay, well, if the package is still here on Wednesday, then I'll send it back to the distributor or whoever. But otherwise, I'll wait to see if I get a label made, i.e. from, let's say, I sent the package to my niece and I realized she's not there, so I call her and they ordered a slip.
Right, yeah, no, I gotcha. Hey, Lisa, come in. Okay.
They say our pickup truck has
The other, huh?
Or they'll say that I can't pick it up. The truck, another truck has to come and pick it up.
Yeah, it's like I'm not the priority, or you know, they all have like different.
Not my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just thinking, instead of leaving the package there, when
Just a
there's
note.
something to be returned.
Right.
If we put a piece of,
Or
some
even if
kind
we
of
gave
paper
y'all
there
like one of these
that reminds-
stands, like even when Mogi's not
That's right.
training anymore, replace it with attention delivery driver, please check with staff. So, Mogi. It's a big category. So we have a new Mogi, and I think everyone's really excited about it. He's a little love, and we're so excited to have him. The families are excited, the kids are excited, volunteers are excited. We are too, but he is a puppy in training right now. The reason I want to touch on Mogi, especially for y'all, is he does get put up here a lot. You guys are kind of the liaison between Mogi and the families. If you don't like dogs, just tell us. We won't pawn him off on you. But I want to point out just kind of that he is in training and that we are working really hard to get him trained, so he will be a great therapy dog for us here, a great house dog for our family staying here. And so if he comes up here and he's hanging out with y'all and you're okay with that, thank you in advance. What we just want to make sure is he's not lunging at children, he's not barking at children, he's not nipping or biting. He really doesn't typically do that. He's gotten into the barking a little more lately, but we always want, we always want him to be on a leash, is what I want to say first and foremost. He usually has that blue leash trailing him, or he's carrying it in his mouth or something. That just helps us to control him a bit better. If a child were to run up and get in his face, you have some recourse so that he's not lunging at them or getting in their face. He's still learning, he's a puppy, he very much wants to play. He's very spry most of the time and quite sassy lately. So we want him to play with kiddos. We just want it to be safe and we want it to be controlled. Okay, so what I would ask is that y'all just really make sure you're hanging on to his leash if kids are up here and trying to visit with him. We are trying a little bit to establish some more boundaries up here. It's a very, very open space and very welcoming, which is fantastic. What that can mean though is kiddos kind of come up here and park it for a while and y'all are trying to answer the phones, or Mogi's barking at them because he wants to play. There's a lot going on. I hope that never becomes a real issue. If it does, please do tell your house manager or get me if you can't find them. And we really just don't want you guys to feel like you don't have a workspace or people just keep plopping down in front of you or behind you and kind of taking over. It is a bit of a booming area up here. It echoes a little bit. So I know in the interest of being able to answer the phones and help people with kids back here like screaming and Mogi's barking, it can get quite chaotic. So I want to put that out there because we do thank y'all for taking him once in a while. The other thing I wanted to mention is we really don't want any families taking him away from the desk, taking him outside. Y'all are welcome to do that. If you're comfortable, if you don't mind running him out to potty once in a while, let us know. We'd be glad to take you up on it. We don't though want families or children to take him out of eyesight of a volunteer staff, okay? And that includes taking him out to go to the bathroom. So if you guys are like, I'm so swamped up here, I think he needs to go out, come get us. That's our baby, not our baby, that's our job. So it's just great if you guys are willing to help us with him, but by no means is that required. And we know he gets real sassy and barks a little bit, and so if you guys are trying to get stuff done, just holler and we'll gladly take him back. Okay? He also needs to sit first. The sign for sit is this. Okay? So it's like your palm but turned up. He usually knows it really well, except when he wants to play, and then he's a wiggle butt and you can't get him to do anything. But this is sit. So if you say sit, Mogi, we really want him to sit before he gets pet, before he gets loved on, before he gets to play, because we're trying to establish those behaviors, okay, as he's learning. He also needs downtime. So we are trying to work that into his schedule as well, so that he has set breaks from people, so he's not overstimulated, and so that he can just rest. He's a puppy, so he zonks out really fast, and he needs that time to lay down and rest and just kind of have his own space. So, any questions on Mogi? Okay, cool. Any questions on anything else? Anything I didn't cover? Anything you've struggled with up here? I'm sure there's a ton I didn't cover, I realize that. Anything that's just been a challenge since y'all moved up to this desk, or anything you can think of that's just like, I'm not sure what the answer is, I get this question a lot. No? All right, you graduated.
I have a question.
Never mind.
I noticed there's some new information.
Thank you.
Tell me more.
Sarah's so great. So great. Okay, yes, thank you very much. So we did kind of rework, thank you to our intern Summer, who hopefully y'all will get to meet. She has made some different documents for the front desk that will hopefully help make your job a bit easier. This first color-coded thing right here is a layout of the first floor. Okay, so, and that's just generally kind of what we call each area. We understand we have like lingo for a lot of this stuff, and I'll change it on you guys once in a while, which is not nice. But this is what we call most everything on the first floor, and then just where it is. Okay, so if someone's like, hey, can you send that family back to the great room? That's generally what we call the area by the fireplace. But if you're unsure, or you're like, I can't remember where the kitchen is in this building, or something like that, this is here for you. Up here, she really kind of reworked the bus schedule, the shuttle schedule, and pickup locations, and also the staff directory, and she redid the hospital numbers as well. So if someone calls and like, I'm looking for the house inside MD Anderson, you guys should have it under these right here. Thank you for bringing that up. So those I hope will be helpful to y'all. If they're not, we are always welcome to receive suggestions. I'm very, very thrilled when I get suggestions, because it's usually something I haven't thought of, and it's always something that someone else is thinking but hasn't brought up yet. So please, please tell me if you have edits, suggestions, you just think anything isn't working, or you think it would work a little bit better. This whole color coding the directory wasn't my idea. It wasn't even a staff member idea. It was a volunteer. It was like, duh, like light bulb went off. Yeah, let's color code who works here and who's not at this building. So please let us know if you have suggestions, especially after you get acclimated with this environment and all that up here. Okay.
I do have a question.
Yes.
So I know that on the weekends when we have like meal volunteers or activities, they want like a little tour.
Yeah.
Is that something we do, or is that something the other people?
That should be the housewarmer role.
Okay.
Yep. And so that, again, just kind of reiterating the message we originally sent out about this role change. We are going to work to fill the spaces for each shift, so no one has to switch a shift. You can still work with the people you're used to working with and that you've known for however long. We will fill those gaps for each shift with whichever role we're short on, okay? So no, y'all don't have to do those tours anymore. This is really kind of your hub up here. And if you can't find the housewarmer, or you don't know what to do with the person who walked in, again, let your house manager know or let me know, and we'll figure that out. We are going to, at some point, roll out walkie-talkies for y'all, which was Sarah's idea and a really good one. We have them, I'm very sorry I haven't gotten down to figuring them out. But we're hoping that a walkie-talkie, y'all have one here in the housewarmer that's working on your shift, one or two of them, however many. We'll have the other, and so if someone comes in and wants a tour, you're like, hey, I need you down in the front. We need someone to do a tour. Hopefully that'll help, because I know this is a lot of steps. I gotta start wearing my Fitbit, but it's a big house. If housewarmer's up on the third floor in like the linen closet, like good luck finding them, you know? So the walkie-talkies we hope will be very helpful, so y'all can have much more communication throughout the shift and you're not trying to track them down. Yeah.
What happens in the event that you're the only volunteer that day for that shift?
So depending on which one you're signed up for, so if you were the only person here and you're the house concierge, you would stay here. You would figure it out with the house manager probably, like a plan of action. If you knew tours were coming in, if you knew a check-in was coming in and they were gonna need to be shown the kitchen or whatever, really the house manager should be taking on that role. so that you don't have to leave the desk. We are trying really hard, if you haven't gathered this yet, to make these two distinct, different volunteer roles. We realize that if these are muddled, people will kind of just fall back into it's all one role. And in order to make this house more efficient and to serve our families the way we all want to, we really do need the support of someone at the front desk and someone floating around the house. Okay, so don't feel bad about that either. If you're the only one here, we're so glad to see you. Thank you for being the only one here and answering the phone. It helps us tremendously when we have someone here answering the phones. It's like some days, when we have a whole shift of no one up here, we're all picking the phone up in the back, or the house manager is, and so y'all just stay right here. Yeah, it's a great question. Anything else? Ready to go. Okay. Well, I think that's it for me and Sarah and I right now. You guys are fantastic. Thank you. You had awesome questions. If you need anything going forward, again, check with your house manager.
No, go back.
Thank you for watching today's training. If you have further questions, please connect with your house manager. They'll be happy to help you.